I am now hitting record, and now I'm hitting the intro.
Bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Everyone!
Welcome to Everyone Racers, a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing and oddball car culture. It doesn't matter what kind of limit champ or lucky track dog league you run, SCCA or NASA, we don't discriminate. As long as you drive it hard and built it yourself. Join us each week for tech discussions, tips and tricks, as well as news and notes from the world of amateur endurance racing. And whether it's on the spot, hella sweet, or we're lucky enough, and Chrissy gives us just the tip, we're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less. Everyone report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
I'm Timmy!
And I'm mental.
And we are Everyone Racers. Welcome to an early Porsche episode of our podcast. It's episode 356. We couldn't find anything better, and that one was really obvious, but we had to. So the famous bathtub Porsche started production in 1948 in Austria. And after building roughly 50 cars, they shifted back to Germany, where production of the 356 continued until 1965. And it was sold side by side its replacement, the 911. 76,000 of the lightweight rear-engine cars were produced, with about half of those still around. The earliest versions used a 1.1-liter Boxster engine and made around 35 horsepower, while the last version in 65 made 95 horsepower. Original price in 1948, $3,750, equivalent to about $48,000 today. So, none of us can afford to have a 356, so we're not working on those. But Mental, what else? You have some crappy air-cooled Porsches that are worth about $3,750 in today's dollars.
Crappy air-cooled Porsche, yes.
Yeah.
And I got rid of all the crappy water-cooled ones for now.
For now,
yep. And I have not worked on that crappy air-cooled Porsche at all. So it's been great. Instead, got the Miata home. I got the air conditioner just in time for it to actually come into some use. And then I went to California for a car and came home. And then I went to California for work and I came home. So that's what I've been working on.
So you've been working on listening to podcasts in your Miata, basically.
Yes, but not the Miata.
Oh.
In fact, for those who are, this is the new Mrs. Mental Mobile. This is the Mercedes SL 500 I bought from the same kind individual who loaned me the 911. It has 33,000 original miles, and it does everything old, big Mercedes is supposed to do. And I just feel so comforted. It's great.
And you haven't, any other seller, I would be warning you right now because of how complicated those cars are. But that guy, he's like buying a car from me. It's like, yes,
it is. I actually made that joke. He's more Chris than Chris. I've already got a logbook of everything that was on it, tape over any part, screw, or anything that he replaced, and all including the original window sticker and everything on that car. It is immaculate. The tires still have the little nubs on them, and I got the hard top, the convertible top, the little trolley for the hard top, which Vicky has no interest in taking off for the foreseeable future. It was basically, I drove it from Oakland, like sitting in a Barco Lounger, gobbling up freeway, the way that Mercedes was designed to just cross time zones.
Yep.
And I
good.
did find a receipt for all of the convertible top servos were all replaced 2 years ago.
That's what I was just about to ask. Is the less you use the top, the less likely you're going to have a hydraulic fluid shower. So that's good.
Yes.
Sounds like so much fun.
Somehow Mental can find like the best sellers in the world for Mercedes and the worst trailers on the planet.
Yes. See, that's what happens.
How does that work?
You buy from someone whose name starts with a C. Chuck, Chris. You're covered on this one.
if you buy or get trailers from someone whose name begins with a J, janky. So,
Or if you just happen to exchange trailers with a stranger on the side of the road at midnight,
I'm just gonna
unlikely to go well.
I'm just gonna say his name began with a J. We're sticking with the.
Do
We're sticking
you
with
want
the
a moon
logic on that
trailer?
one.
Yes, I do. Okay, bye.
Oh, it sounds great.
Oh, yep. All right.
So
All right.
Or when you buy a car with a translator, that's always a bad thing.
Ooh.
Yes.
now, did you
Yep.
have to bring the translator, or was the translator just like there? Or
Good question.
He had his own.
okay, good.
It was,
Yeah.
it was a 9-year-old girl was the translator when I was trying to buy a Lemons car one time.
All right. I know this didn't happen this way, but in my head, she's sitting there kind of like twirling back and forth, like, with her teddy bear going, "You're breaking my balls. You're breaking my balls. I can't take that little for it." All right. And I'll say this because it'll be fun. Chris, what are you working on?
Yeah, I'm just going to go first so I can do that. All right. I've been working on my chainsaw, my 80s Husqvarna 44. I had cleaned it all out, redone the carburetor, had the wrong kit, put it back together. It just poured fuel everywhere. So I got the correct kit, and I'll shout out to Discount Outboard Motor Supply. They were on eBay, but they're in Michigan, and they put together this fantastic kit for this Walbro carburetor that every single bit needed. Came with a parts diagram to show how it all went together. Very reasonably priced. Saw runs beautifully now, better than it's run in years and years and years. And then I proceeded to cut wood with it because else what do you do?
Hold on.
Right?
It was kind of
Timber.
funny when you finished the project at 9 p.m. and we're gonna run
Yeah.
it then.
Well, yes, I finished the saw. And I said, well, the only way I can run this at this time of night is if I go find that old hockey mask. And then I said, my neighbors won't appreciate that. So I shouldn't do that right now. Hey, guys, look, my saw works. I'm going to have a new hockey mask. Yay. That pig won't like that. So
Honestly, you shouldn't do that at 9. You should wait till about 10:30, right when Chrissy's asleep, and so that you don't disturb the neighbors. Just do that in the bedroom. Hey, Chrissy, look at my new hockey mask. I'll fix the chainsaw.
Yep. It's a great idea.
And we wouldn't be together anymore. So I don't think he would be well.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, I would be the one getting injured in that scenario.
Uh-huh.
And then today I walk out of work to the Boxster, and the glass back window was flopped down on the carpet above the engine. So, those Miatas with a zip out window in the back? It's pretty much that, but
Mine
a
is the
glass
zipper.
one and a Boxster. Right. So
Minus the zipper.
figuring out how to put that in because the top has been recently replaced. It's in very good condition. I have to figure out how to glue that back in without taking the whole top off, if preferable. And so because of that, the car is obviously not waterproof. So I needed to get it in the garage, but the Mazda was in the garage. So tonight we had to move things around to get the Mazda in the trailer so I could get the Porsche in the garage. Yeah, fun times. Anyway.
When you started to tell that story, my nightmare was that someone threw a rock at it and it shattered or something horrible.
No, it was just sitting there.
Fell
It was
in.
95 degrees today. And apparently that was all the glue had, and it just went bloop down into the well there. That's all. Yep. Chrissy, you can tell everyone what you're doing too.
Oh, well, this weekend we saw some friends, had lots of booze, and that's about it. Did not work on cars. Yep. Now we're staving off the heat, but it'll change tomorrow. So nothing interesting here. Tim, though, what are you doing?
So I have some friends in town from Florida, my buddy Dan and Sabrina. They were actually the couple that my wife and I I'll backtrack. My wife and her friend Sabrina went on a ski trip that they won in a raffle for Christmas. I went on a ski trip where I got a call like 2 weeks before and said, hey, the guy that was supposed to go broke his ankle, and you can go for just the price of the transfer fee, which was like $150. Like 7 days, airfare, lessons, the whole thing. And I was like, yeah, I'm in 100%. And then Dan who was a ski instructor for the company that was supposed to be in Canada and then got moved last second to Copper Mountain. So Dan, the ski instructor, met Sabrina, a customer, and they hooked up. And I, a last second customer, met Amy, my now wife, and we hooked up, and now we're married, and now we're all hanging out. And that was in 2002. So they're here at the camp with us, hanging out. Very
Wow.
cool.
That's a fun
I-
story.
I need, if I knew that was coming, I need like one of those the Instagram filters where they play the happy music and it just fixes into a heart right around your
Your face.
So very cool story. But Dan bought a company, a HVAC company, recently in Florida. So he and I went under the house to look at the HVAC at our place here, which was built in 1950. And as you can imagine, it's not amazing. So we spent a lot of time under there looking at rusty things and why do the pipes go that way? And like, what is that thing that's connecting these two things together? So we had a lot of fun time. I learned a ton about HVAC, so it was super fun, very cool. I've got a lot of work to do. So that was it. No car work, sadly, but I do have the garage, my epic garage build that I'm hoping to do should be starting in the next 7 days. So very excited about that.
Nice.
Nice.
All right, listeners, you've already heard him talking. You've heard us refer to him. We have to be very specific because the voice you have heard is yet another Chris, because you can't have enough Chris's. Tim's middle name is actually Chris, but he won't go by it. That's actually not true. What you have heard is the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Overzet. He is our guest this week. And oddly enough, he is on the show in his shop. So, Chris, what you working on?
I got a 72 F100 with a twin turbocharged LS in it. So basically I've been trying to get that thing running. So I've been,
I love the casual nature that you just threw. Every word in that sentence was awesome. And you're just like, oh, yeah. Old F100 twin turbo LS.
It's been like a 5-year project, so I'm trying to get it done so that that way I can sell it and finish my my dream car that's in the garage, in the shop also, which is a 65 Chevelle with a LSA in it, a 6-speed, which was actually built here in Fremont, like an hour from here. My buddy drove it in high school, and then so it's been a California car its whole life. So I'm just finishing the Ford so I can sell it off to get the other one going. So
That's awesome. Oh,
and then
man.
of course keeping Buttercup alive. So is another project all the time. So
And initially, because we had you scheduled to be on not too long, but a little while ago. And in fact, Buttercup had gone to Radwood and then cooked your foot and broken down and got stuck in traffic.
yeah.
Yeah. So Buttercup, and we're going to talk about what is Buttercup. I don't know. Erling, don't worry. We're going to explain what Buttercup is. Just know that it is a car about the size of your bus.
Yep.
So
Should we let Chris talk a half a second about what he does for work in his business?
That would be a good idea.
I had it
Sure.
saved for the main topic time, but yes.
Well, we
I
can
own a-
say that. That's a teaser.
I own a shop here in Brentwood that basically makes trucks pretty. So basically we do everything from 2024 Duramaxes on 40-inch tall tires all the way to $250,000 pre-runners and we're doing a lot of those overland stuff too. So we got a bunch of the new Tundras in here doing overland stuff to that. And we do a lot of airbags and towing stuff, and just basically got a lot of shops are scared of the big lifted trucks. So basically it's kind of my forte where I kind of can fix them without even looking at them half the time and find all the problems before, because nobody else wants to touch them. So But yeah, right now we have a 1,500 horsepower pre-runner in the showroom, and then one of my mechanics or slash salesman's got his dad's original truck that we raced in Vegas to Reno in '96. So his son got it, and he's restoring it, and we're probably going to race it like this by the end of this year. So it's going to be pretty cool. But yeah, we do a lot of big truck stuff. Basically, make stuff cool.
Sounds
Awesome.
fantastic.
Make stuff cool.
Make stuff
Yeah.
cool. Speaking of cool stuff,
Is it news time? Yay!
It
Okay. Have you been wondering where all the classic cars have gone? James Gilboy from The Drive has a hunch. It either seems like there are fewer classic salvage yards with each passing year. Either they gradually close or liquidate, or their stock rots too much for parts to be recovered. But a vast whatever it is, of old, well-preserved
Bastion.
American iron... Bastion?
Best.
Whatever.
Mhm.
Well-preserved American iron cars can still be found in Arizona. How vast? More than 10,000 cars in total, plenty of which are still in restorable condition. This morgue of American automotive history was recently toured by YouTube user Remote Trooper, who captured aerial and ground footage at Desert Valley Auto Parts. Founded back in 1993, the family-owned business has been continually acquiring cars ever since, with a predominant focus on American cars from '64 and earlier. In fact, its stock has become so vast that the company's website says the inventory isn't even entirely cataloged or sorted, and that made tougher. That's made tougher by how many long dead brands such as DeSoto are represented there. Nevertheless, Remote Trooper finds while walking through the neatly arranged rows that are roughly organized by make. The video barely gets past the General Motors section alone before Arizona heat forces the host to retreat to his car before noon. A long outing might have allowed for some old good dashboard baking. But while this environment is hostile. Oh, hi. It's surprisingly accommodating for the cars themselves. There are dozens of complete restoration-ready cars, plus there are some that are partially complete. Feasibly, they could be saved with enough effort and other car parts, and while Arizona sun sear off any clear coat and paint, dry climate means rust is minimal, and the sheet metal is generally good. Mental showing you some pictures if you're watching, but take a look at the Drive article to look at all of these cars. There's so many. They go on for miles.
There's so many. We have smiles and smiles of cars.
Yeah.
All right, I did
So
actually.
many.
So far in the video, I did notice a two-door Impala and also one of those Oldsmobile Tornado RV, homes, which, probably interests me more than any reasonable person should be interested. All right,
Fair.
Tim, I shamelessly
Fair,
dumped
fair.
the next one onto you so I could do the video.
I'm happy to do it. So Amber DeSalva at Jalopnik tells us about how a Lambo owner can't afford a fine for an exhaust note. Usually when a supercar owner gets themselves into dumb trouble, it's a chance for us to all come together and point and laugh. Speeding tickets, aquatic adventures, we love to see a rich asshole lose. But one Staten Island Lamborghini owner ticketed for his Huracan Performante exhaust noise actually has a point in claiming the ticket is unjust. Anthony Aquilano, supercar enthusiast, got a ticket for excessive noise in his Huracan Performante while driving through Manhattan. He claims the $800 fine, which will increase for repeat offenses, is unaffordable and unreasonable. While that claim that someone who owns a six-figure supercar can't afford an $800 ticket is laughable, the argument that the ticket is unreasonable holds water. His car, as you see, is bone stock, and if a car sold with the factory exhaust with the full approval of all necessary regulatory bodies, it's really not reasonable to go ticketing that car for being too loud without aftermarket mods. If you want quiet cars, you're welcome to, but that regulation should happen long before a car can possibly make it to the buyer. New York has recently cracked down on loud vehicles. with the SLEEP Act providing additional enforcement for pre-existing noise limits, either by decibel level or by distance from the vehicle at which the exhaust is audible. That law, however, doesn't seem to account for whether a car is stock or modified. It's possible to buy a vehicle off the showroom floor and immediately receive a ticket stating that car, as sold to you, is not legal to operate in the city of New York. Go to the link for Jalopnik. That is BS.
And we talked about this a few months ago because it was a similar person in an unmodified Porsche 911 got dinged with one of these. But I hopefully the guy that can afford a Lamborghini Huracan Super Performante can also afford a lawyer just to start stirring up enough trouble.
I also read an article about a guy in a Hyundai that he had the performance model and the cop impounded the car because
that was a California in model.
Yeah, permanently disable from the factory the track option. We will impound the car and tow it.
Yeah, they suspended his registration. He ended up having to sell that car.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well.
Some people normal people just want to have fun, but then they ruin all of the stupid people ruin it for the normal people.
Yes, and
You mean
I love,
people with like a rotary RX-7?
We'll make a law and it'll make it all better. And I've pointed out before, I live half a block from a four-way stop sign that, guys with straight pipe Nissan Zs love to do second gear pulls at 3 a.m. All right. I am on the side
straight
of
pipe Harleys. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I am on the side of you kids and your dumb racket. But if the federal government says the car is fine, the car is fine.
This is the time to get the chainsaw and mask out.
This is a lead into the next topic, which is how many of us as judges will force anybody with a rotary RX-7 to shut their car off before they go into penalty. Raise your hand.
All of us.
That's 100%.
Seems like a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, you know where you can get one of those rotary RX-7s? RacingJunk.com.
Weird.
We found this 1983 RX-7 race car for $4,000. Ready to race, 83 RX-7, former SCCA race car with logbook, full high-quality roll cage, but will need some modifications to meet Lemon specs. Runs very strong, shifts smoothly, comes with spares, including a set of 13-inch lightweight wheels, transmission, and differential gear set. Here's a brand new and installed with no use 15x7 lightweight wheels with new tires, fuel pump, fuel drain and tank clean and coated with a nice coating, new fuel filter, carb rebuilt, idler arms, alignment, much more. There's receipts, there's pictures. It does need a harness because it's out of date, and they don't know the mileage, which, that's a deal breaker right there. But it looks like they also bought the premium version because they've got lots of pictures. You can see the cage has got nice door bars that go out into the doors pretty well. It looks like a pretty good design.
Actually, the inside of that car is really, really clean. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've pointed this out before. Do you know who got their start in racing in a spec RX-7? That's our John Pagel. So he'll walk you right through whatever camera mods you have to give to make that thing work. It'll be great. So check that out. Check it at the link in our show notes.
I remember Brandon Cross used to bend the rear axles on those RX-7s.
How do you do that?
Yeah. Why? Yeah. How and why do you
They would
bend?
literally put it in a press and bend the axle to. They would bend it to get
camber.
2 degrees of negative camber, and then they'd have to change all the wheel bearings on the weak cam. Yeah. And the rear of a solid axle.
There you go. See, you get
one
the
way.
recommendation of the car and the speed secrets right here. This is news you can use.
Out engineering the engineers. Well done, boys.
Yeah. I don't need no engineering. I got a press.
Yeah.
Okay, upcoming races. There are none, but there's plenty
none.
of September, so we're totally going to be back in. There's every weekend. There's race cars.
Yep.
Yes.
But recent results.
Well, 28 cars took the green flag at Champ Car's 12 Hours at Thompson. Overall in Class C was the Bogle Legacy Motorsports and in 1988 Porsche, They were 19 laps over the next car in class, but only 39 seconds over the A-class winner of Misco Motorsports driving a 94 Miata. Class B was lack of integrity with an 01 Integra, who was also third overall. The Boston Whiners, love those guys, took fifth overall, an F-class win with the Mustang Renegades and a 94 Mustang, taking D-class and 8th overall. Well done.
Well done. Did I say something?
Go ahead, Chris. Come on.
No?
I'm waiting for.
Oh, listen up feedback time! I thought you were going
That's what I was
to comment
waiting.
on. I thought you were commenting on the race. We were trying
Yeah.
to.
I was waiting for
Sorry.
Chrissy to call
It's
the next
listener
segment.
feedback time!
Right. Adam Nowoki of Fomoko fame showed us this: the Don Joy Iceman Clear 3. Adding, this might be the cookie-making cool shirt you've been looking for, but I would argue it's a great little track asset right before getting into or out of the car. He said that when, quote, the ever-patient Mrs. Naraki had knee surgery, it plugs right into my Ultra Chiller cool shirt. So it's like a little tiny cool shirt cooler thing.
With
Okay.
a hose.
Yeah, it's like the cool shirt hose. It actually comes with it. It's $118.
How much? $118.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a
interesting.
heck of a deal.
All right, so he added that for the paddock, one of our teammates built a lunchbox-sized cooler with a bilge pump power by Milwaukee M12 battery pack that is just slick.
And on the Facebooks regarding our last episode, DJ914 offered that in endurance racing, a cool shirt is a safety item. Great info.
I do agree. Moot Point Racing also noted that it was good info, and if they keep their procrastination to a minimum, they will have their system done just in time for Loudon, which is in New Hampshire, in the fall. Right when you do,
Yep.
which
Sometimes
if they get
winter,
it done,
like
yeah.
actually winter.
Sometimes you need a warm
when you
shirt
don't
at
need it.
Loudon. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not laughing at you. We are laughing in sympathy.
Yep. So we posted up some fun pics, and Mental's new R129 SL500 got some reactions along with the Instagram story of him getting it. But when he posted a picture of his electric skateboard, Al Jones says, "I can't wait to bid on it at my local airport auction."
Oh, shoot. All right, I posted up a little while ago about the beach cart. We said 1.5.
1.2.
2.
Sorry.
Eric K said, "Nice. Will the 2.5 Mazda motor fit in as well? Long block only, of course.
You can
it
fit those in
barely makes
anything.
it to the beach." Okay. On the YouTubes, the ever helpful Michael K gave us this: consider flushing Cool Shirt with a brewing and dairy sanitizer Star Sand. It's very mild acid that does not affect the tubing, fitting, pumps, etc. unless mild steel. That is not anyone uses a galvanized steel cooler fitting. Heck, I might mix in a 5-gallon batches of sanitizing brewing equipment, and it lasts for about 3 to 6 months. I use 5 gallons of old stuff as our cool seat water. Interesting.
Interesting.
Right.
That is interesting. I have a bunch of that from brewing beer. I might have to think about that.
Oh, hey, heck yes. Yeah, bring some of that to cool out my shirt when I see you at the Buttercup here in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm. And at It's Probably Fine said, gray is a theme, and attributed that to Chrissy's mom. Thanks, Chrissy's mom.
You're right. There you go.
And finally, the same person, different comment, helpfulness. Michael K., who was binging us on his epic motorcycle ride through the northern half of the U.S., said, quote, a steep learning curve for me on buying a tractor was narrowing down the specific weights and capacities you need. I narrowed it down to 1,000-pound lift on the FEL and 1,200 pound lift on the 3-point plus, specific to me, and it was able to fit through a 6-foot gate with a belly mower on it. FEL lift capacity was about the ability to lift a drivetrain from a truck bed to the ground and back again, because that lift capacity is rated at the bucket pivot pin. So he was giving Chris helpful tips as he looks into his next fall project of tractor selection and maintenance.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Sorry, Chrissy.
Thanks. That's so much.
Hey, Chrissy wants her hot tub and patio done, so that's.
I
we
do.
need a
I
tractor.
do. I do. And
Uh-huh.
if a tractor makes you that excited, then let's get a tractor.
I just
Well,
wanna
I
get
think
all
the
these
tractor
things
is
done.
going to help bring the hot tub. You could actually get it off the delivery truck with the chain if he's got the right FEL, and then set it into the deck that he's going to build,
I gotta flatten things out around here first.
which also a tractor is good for.
I know.
That's why we're getting it.
Yes.
Great.
You know who else is always full of helpful tractor advice?
She will be once we have a tractor.
You know who else's life is going to be improved when Chris invariably selects the perfect tractor that he needs?
Yes.
You know who else is able to fit through a 6-foot gate with a belly mower on?
Long as it's gray.
Oh, good.
Okay.
That would be
Right.
Chrissy's mom. And Chris, you have not had an opportunity to sample Chrissy's mom's cookies because I don't think you've done anything on the East Coast or the Northeast. So the next time these two come out for a West Coast race, you will understand the cult of Chrissy's mom.
I think I tried to bring some out the one time we were out for
Buttonwillow,
Chocolate. Yeah. I don't know that they made it anywhere around the paddock. I think they probably only got devoured in the paddock.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, because I was there.
Yep. Agreed. All right, it's big topic time.
All right, you have probably seen Chris Overzet in his many creations in the wrap-up videos. You may have chatted with him in penalty. It's possible you've seen him and Buttercup, the 1972 Lincoln, or what year is Lincoln?
75.
75 Lincoln, 75 Lincoln Town Car Coupe. That is Continental, 20 some odd feet long. It's awesome. You may have seen it at a West Coast Cars and Coffee, Radwood, and most recently, he won Worst of Show at the Concours des Lemons held in conjunction with Pebble Beach. If you don't do a lot of West Coast stuff, maybe you don't know him, but you should. And Chris, give us the 30-second elevator pitch of Chris Overzet. He's thinking.
Jeez, 30 seconds.
I mean, you already told us about it. It's
Basically,
an
I
incredible
kinda
shop.
fell into lemons, and kind of been I think I lost one marriage because of lemons, but I mean, it's been a adventure since the beginning. It's just, I don't know, lemons is just part of my life now, and it's crazy. Just, I love just seeing people's reaction when I'm driving my stupid Buttercup and going to car shows and letting kids sit on it, and I'm a big goofball when it comes to that stuff, so I like making people smile.
And Buttercup certainly does. Buttercup is the 75 Lincoln Continental two-door covered in fur with a horse on the top. And I failed to prepare.
10-year-old fur.
I failed to prepare ahead of time and have pictures of this available, but we will figure that one out as we are working up through this. Yeah.
Chris, you've had a lot of other great Lemons cars over the years that off the top of my head, aside from a whole fleet of various Hondas, where you and I were on the same page with all those. I remember the limousine, the Titanic limousine, that wouldn't fit on the flatbed at the when it got towed off. That was hilarious.
It made the tow truck do a 5-foot wheelie when it came off track.
Yeah,
wasn't that the last limousine they allowed in Lemons?
It was the only that limousine was it was so funny. I was looking on Craigslist and I see this limousine. I'm like, wait a minute, that phone number looks familiar. And it was a guy that owed me money. So all of a sudden I show up to look at this limo, and I asked Jay. I call Jay up on his phone. I'm like, can I race a limo? And he's like, how long is it? I go, hold on. And so I go and measure. I'm all 27 feet. And he's like, yeah, let me call Peggy. I'll call you back. And so I'm sitting there talking to my buddy, and then all of a sudden. Jay said, he goes, sure, you can do it. And I'm like, all right. So then I go to my buddy. I'm all, well, here's $300. So 300, I wanted 1,000. I go, you owe me $800. And he's like, oh. He's like, all right. So I got that big ass limo for $300. So it was pretty funny, or 1,000 basically. But yeah, it That thing was hilarious. It was so much fun. I got so much junk out of the inside of that car. I got a 1941 Nazi nickel minted in Berlin. I sold that on eBay for $100. There was I think all the stuff you find in a Lemons car it's like that'd be a whole show in its own. I mean, there's so much crazy stuff. There was like a 3X thong in there. There was a wedding certificate from Niagara Falls. There was a green card from Juan Garcia that was in the car. There was so much stuff in that car when I pulled it apart. It was hilarious. But yeah, the limo was probably one of the funniest stories of any of the cars. And then, I mean, like I said, I have hundreds of stories, but I can go on forever. But yeah, my first Lemons car I got, and my buddy calls me up and goes, "Hey, get it." He shows me the Lemons website 2 weeks before the first race in '07. And so he goes, "I got a Jetta I'm going to build." I'm like, "All right, I'll go find a Jetta." So I go online and I find a Jetta. So I go out to Oakland to get this Jetta. And it was like off Industrial. Tim knows where that is. It's a really great part of town. And,
Amazing.
So I'm sitting there.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. So I'm talking to this girl, and she doesn't have the keys, doesn't have a title, doesn't have a registration, can't even get in the car. And I'm like, "How do I know this is yours?" And then this cop pulls up and he goes, and of course, he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm trying to buy this car from this girl." And he's all, "Can you run her name so I can see if it's her car?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." So the cop punches his numbers in, and he goes, "So and so," and she's like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right." He goes, "Yeah, that's her car. And I'm going to give you a 5-minute head start, and then I'm going to go look for you." And she's like, "Uh-oh." He's all, "You got 2 warrants. Start running." And all of a sudden the girl's like, looks at me, and I'm like, she's all, "Can I have the $400?" I'm all, "300." She's like, "300, come on." I'm like, and then I look at her, I go, "It's going to be 200 in a second." She's like, "Fine, I'll take the 300. And she ran. And then all of a sudden the cop took off and chased her. It was hilarious. It was like and then I get home and I'm like, "Oh, these Volkswagens aren't bad." Then I was like, had a dented oil panel. I took the oil pan off and the whole bottom half of the engine came off with the oil pan. I was like, "Oh, that's not good." So then I found that's when I got my first little '88 Civic. I bought it from my friend, and I told him, I go, "Take the interior out of it and then I'll give you this much for it." He's like, "Okay." And then I built that car in like a week and a half right before the July of '07 race. That was the first Honda that I had. But that was the stories of buying Lemons cars are classic. I mean, they're hilarious.
All right, the lesson learned here, dear listener, is if you're negotiating, don't be under pursuit, because it doesn't give you a lot of back and forth time. Oh God,
Exactly.
that may be the funniest thing I've ever heard about buying a Lemons car. It's going to be 230 seconds. Oh my God.
Yeah, I got there's like I said, Crazy Mike went with me, and I found the Daewoo, the Laganza. I found it on Craigslist, and I go, "Hey, Crazy Mike," I go, "Can you go with me to go look at this car?" And he's all, "Where's it at?" I go, "It's in Sac." And he's all, "Oh, we're in this part of town." I'm all, "Is that a bad part of town?" He's like, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, great. Can you come with me?" And he's like, "Sure." And then Crazy Mike, he's a big guy too. So we go to get to this.
You're 6'4". What are you? You're
6'3", and yeah,
6'3".
Crazy Mike's about the same as me, but
yeah, Mike's
so
about 6'4", 6'5". Yeah.
yeah. So we pull up to this car, and I see the Lagans out there, and I'm looking around it, and all of a sudden this kid comes out of the house, and he's like, and he has a blanket around him. He's all, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm looking at this car I'm going to buy." He's all, "Why?" And I'm all, "Because Reggie said I can buy it, and he's told me that he'd be in a few minutes." He's all, "I don't know why you're. Wait a minute." And then all of a sudden I grabbed the phone, and Reggie. I'm talking to Reggie on the phone, and I hand it to this kid, and then all of a sudden the kid runs off, and he gives me my phone back, and I'm all, "What'd you do?" He's all, "Well, I told him to go back to bed." And I was like, "Okay." And then now 20 people came out of the house, and they're all standing around me and Mike, and then Mike takes off to go get starting fluid for me, and I'm like, "Oh, great." So I'm standing there, and then finally Reggie shows up. So we're looking through the Gonza, started off some starting fluid, and then it ran, and I'm like, "Okay, cool." I go, "What do you want for it?" He's like, "420, man." I'm like, "All right, here's $420. And then all of a sudden, he's like, "Can we clean out all the recycling before you take it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So he's pulling all this stuff out of the car, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I see the fuel button, fuel reset button, and I push it, and I was like, huh. And then the car started right up, and the guy's all, "Hey man, it's running." I go, "Oh, that's just leftover starting fluid." And he had like a Mickey bottle stuck up against the fuel pump reset switch, and then we drug the car on the trailer, and then it was like, yeah, that was a sketchy one too. But yeah,
Sounds like when we bought the truck, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Something
became the
similar.
boat.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I mean, we're already off to a good start here.
Yeah, right?
Now, Chris, for a long time, you used to bring a fleet of cars basically to the track. You had your F950, whatever it was, with the giant trailer with a bunch of things on it.
I had 7 cars at one race by myself, and I prepped them all by myself. It was complete insanity.
I'm
Yeah,
not
like
complaining
that
about
feels
two
like some sort of
this time.
self-loathing.
I had like an
why do you
85
hate yourself?
percentile of finishing all the races. That was the crazy part about it. I don't know how I did that, but I hardly had any DNFs. I just had dumbass drivers getting all black flagged out before the race was over.
No DNFs,
Yeah.
just a lot of DADs.
Yeah, dumbass drivers. But yeah, I said the amount of drivers I've had and how many. It's like, when you go and you're scrolling through all the people you may know when you're signing up for a race. Well, you know how it scrolls at the bottom of like the people that might have been in your car. Mine goes like for 8 or 9 pages. It's like probably 700 people have driven in my cars. I'm like, oh wow, remember that guy? It was like. Then some of them I'm like, nope, never again. It's like I've warned other drivers, don't drive with that guy. Yeah, I mean, it's like, God, what was it? I had a guy with a car came in. He went on the track. I mean, basically, I tell everybody whenever you do you're interviewing drivers, you ask them if they have PayPal. How tall are you, and do you have PayPal? That's all you need to know about a driver. And he's like, okay. So the guy had PayPal, gets in my little Honda, comes back after 30 minutes, gets a black flag, and then all of a sudden I look and there's cords. He flat spotted 3 different sections on all 4 tires, like brand new tires. So I'm like, what'd you do? And he's all, I don't think none of your ABS and any of your AutoCar nanny stuff's not working on the car. And I'm like, really? I'm like, you think this thing would actually have that stuff? And he's like, well, my car does. And I'm like, well, what are you driving? He's all, that Gallardo over there. And I'm like, holy shit. And I'm like, I go, well, look, now you're going to go buy 4 new tires. So he grabbed 4 tires and bought 4 tires at Sonoma on a Saturday of race day. And it was like, it's just,
because otherwise we're caging the Gallardo and we're going to teach you a lesson.
Yeah, I mean, some of the
that either, actually.
The arrive and drives are hilarious. I mean, just the stuff that they come up with is just like, really? It's like, yeah.
So public safety announcement. If you are going to bring an arrive and drive on your team, call Overzet and go through his database and get some notes on him, because chances are he's driven with him before, and he will give you some really good information. Ask me how I know.
Yeah.
And if he says he sucks, take his word for it. All right. Oh. So just on that, you're talking smack with the guy with the Gallardo, and this was one of the stories you threw out there. So it was tell us the YouTube story thing.
With
cars by Constance.
With Constance, that was a funny one. So, I mean, as everybody knows, everybody that shows up from like any of those like reality TV.
Oh, we just lost your microphone when your headphones were set there. There it goes. All right, you're back.
Yeah. So anytime anybody from like YouTube or any of those people, they're horrible car preppers. They don't know what they're doing. So I'm sitting there, and this girl, Cars by Constance, she's also on that Rust to Riches show. She's a hot looking chick, but yeah. So so she basically has this Sebring, and they made it look like a shark or something. And so I'm going in there, and she's at we're at Buttonwell, and we're going to go do the drive or the track day or on Friday, which I never test ever. And then all of a sudden, I go, "You guys actually racing?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh." She's like, "Why are you being that way?" And I'm like, "Well, usually you YouTube people don't make it that far." And she's like, what are you saying?" I'm like, "I'm saying that I'll bet you $100 that I'll get more laps than you tomorrow." And she's like, no, that's fine. And then I'm like, whatever. And so we went out and tested, and I had a little Subaru that I just built, and it was the tool. It was covered with vaping stuff, and I had snowboards all over it. And so we go out on track, and we literally went like, I think 2 laps, and all of a sudden the temp gauge varies, the oil temperature varies, and all of a sudden it's just like not running. So I had enough speed where I coasted all the way into my paddock space, and then I parked, and then basically the motor was toasted, and I'm like, oh shit. So all of a sudden, as I'm looking at the motor, that constant girl comes up, she's all, "I'll take that bet now for $100." And I'm like, oh, with my broken car, and I'm like, all right, if you want to do it. And she's like, okay. So then I talked to a buddy of mine, and I'm like, we need an engine. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, well, where are we gonna get one? I'm like, well, there's got to be one in LA. So we call our friend up who's driving up from LA. I'm all, hey, how far are you? And he's all, it's over here. Now, can you turn around and go to Long Beach and pick up a motor? He's all, dude, I'm in my wife's brand new Camry. And I'm like, just take all the stuff out of the back of the trunk, and it'll fit in there, I promise. And he's like, all right. So he shows up at like 10 o'clock at night with a Subaru EJ25 in the back of his wife's brand new Camry, with all the carpet from the trunk was in the back seat. So we grabbed it, pulled it out, put the motor in there, and then got it ready, started the race. And then I pulled up right up to Constance, and I saw her. I'm like, still good for the $100? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right. And then I think they went 17 miles and they left.
I need to know, how much was the engine?
$1,195.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But you won the bet, and she still hasn't paid you.
No. Yeah.
I have to say, I like the voice that you use for this lovely chick. Because it sounds, I'm sure, just like her.
Yeah, I was like, but yeah, she took off. So I was here to stalk her on Instagram and say, "You owe me $100." Like the better off dead kid on the bicycle. "You owe me $2. You owe me $2. Yeah.
If we ever find out she's coming back, that's going to have to be somebody's theme. $2.
Well, it's like for the longest time, anytime Jay was basically, he would pawn off every single TV show person on me. He's all, "Hey Chris, yeah, you want a free entry?" And I'm like, "Okay, what do I gotta do?" And he's all, "Can you babysit this TV crew for the weekend?" And I'm like, "So we don't have to see them and bug them?" I'm like, "Okay." So he would give me free entries, then I'd babysit some YouTuber people or whatever, some blogging people for the weekend and stuff like that. But it was a constant, always getting those people because Jay didn't want to deal with them.
No, yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep.
Were there
We've done
any
our
of
fair
them
share.
that didn't suck?
What's that?
Any of the TV YouTubers, camera crews that didn't suck?
Well, I did the car show. Those guys were pretty cool. Matt Farah and all them, Dan Neal and stuff. That was funny because everybody shows up and Adam Carolla's there, and we're we're all standing by the car and we're kind of bantering with each other, like we've known each other for 20 years. Everybody's talking shit to everybody, and all of a sudden, we all reach in to do the hand together thing, and all of a sudden, Carolla's like, "Hey man, your hands are dirtier than Sally's, and he's black." And I'm like, "Yeah, you wouldn't know where working hands were anymore, anyways, Carolla." And he, that didn't make it on the show. But yeah, it was Corolla was funny. I go, and he didn't even race the next day. I guess he had to leave to do something. I'm all, "What do you got?" He goes, "I got a book signing." I go, "Is anybody going to buy that book?" And he's like, "Maybe." And I'm all, "Did you bring any books here?" And he's all, "No, because probably nobody here at Lemons can read." And I'm like, okay.
Okay.
But yeah, it's funny. So when Corolla gets in the car, the roof of the car had a big giant penis painted underneath it. And you had to look up and it says, "Don't be like this." And it had big arrows all inside the car that pointed to the big giant penis.
Oh,
And it was a really graphic penis with fur on it and everything. And my buddy was like, And so Corolla looks up and he's all, "Oh, that's some nice art you have there." But he's a very melodramatic guy. It's not very enthusiastic, but yeah, that show was pretty cool. Yeah, that one they had an intern girl, this little hot blonde girl that was like carrying all the batteries, like 10 batteries, and she's flopping around and she's like about to drop them all and stuff like that. And she's like, "Hey, we need this stuff or this." I'm like, "Look, honey, you're a hot chick, and there's 150 nerdy, geeky guys here at Lemons. You can ask them for anything and they will bring it to you." And she's like, "Okay." So she like walks off, and all of a sudden she has like 5 guys following her, carrying her batteries for her. It's pretty classic. She's like, and then the next day, before we blew the car up with tannerite and explosives, they wanted all the windows broken out. So I had her come over, and I'm like, "Here, you want to beat up the car?" She's like, "Why?" I go, "You can think about all those guys that make you carry their batteries." And so she starts wailing on the car with a hammer and stuff. She's like, "Then this guy does this, and this guy does that." And she was just getting all her frustrations out on the whole film crew. So it was kind of funny. And then I saw, like 4 years later, I saw she messaged me off Facebook that she was like doing some kind of other like documentary stuff or something. So she actually made it through her internship and was somewhat successful, I guess.
Oh, excellent. Maybe she doesn't make the person carry all the batteries.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, I'm trying to think. There was also I had the Buried Life. It was that reality show. These guys from Canada were getting had a list called the Buried Life where they had all these different bucket list things they wanted to do. So they showed up to Buttonwillow, and I had my little wagon van that was like barely together, and I had Pago bring it down for a spare, and all of a sudden these guys are all, "Yeah, we want to be in a race car," and I'm like, "Well, you can take this one." And they're like, "Oh, okay," and then they took off. They basically drove my car for the like 2 hours on Saturday, and then came back, and I was like, "Okay," but yeah, Nick's all, "Do you have a car they can borrow?" And I'm like, "All right," but yeah, those guys were pretty cool. But yeah, there's most of the yeah, a lot of those YouTube people or they're kind of it's not so reality TV show stuff's kind of funny.
And you've had to cobble a lot of stuff back together after other people have broken it in a whole variety of ways. What are some what's a good heroic fix kind of story of something you were able to piece back together in one way or another?
I've actually only got one heroic fix after all my races, and I was we're in Miller, and I drove up there with Crazy Mike, and we took my little topless Honda, my little crappy car I've had forever. We took that, and all of a sudden we're driving on the course, and I see Brian Shorey's Alfa Romeo in front of me, and I'm looking, and every time he's going around corners, the front wheels are changing caster and camber by about 8 degrees. Like both front tires are flopping back and forth, and I'm like watching it as I'm going around corners, and all of a sudden we get back to the paddock at night, and all of a sudden I like walk over and grab his tire and shake it, and all of the spot welds were all broken in the whole front half of the car. So I'm like, that's not good. So basically I found a welder in the paddock and then walked around, and I was trimming pieces of metal off the inside of people's doors and whatever pieces, and like asking people, "Hey, can I have this piece of metal?" I would cut it off and then weld it on his car.
You gonna use that? You gonna eat that?
Can I have that?
Yeah.
Oh
Do you
crap!
need that?
That's only cardboard. No, I need
You
the
can
I
eat
need
your
the
fat.
metal.
Can I borrow that? And then I was like,
Wow.
and that was the same. Yeah,
I may not give it
No,
back
this-
actually.
that was the same one where Bob Harburger used that. He did the bowling with the skateboard, like shooting across the whole garage, and ran into all the gas cans like he was bowling. That was one of the lemons in a nutshell at the very end.
Yes,
But so I'm welding away.
Pre-stunting and exploding antic, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was like welding away, and all of a sudden I turn around and I look, and here goes Bob going by at like 10, 15 miles per hour, laying on a skateboard, and runs into all these gas cans at the end of the garage area. It's hilarious. That was also that was Bob's first. He had that little Renault, like the car that's like a V6 or something in the back, and was it Frank Rocket showed up, and he's like 6'8", and I guess he was supposed to drive in Bob's car, and then I walked over to Bob. He's all, "I got a problem." I'm like, "What is it?" He's all, "I got an Arriva Drive problem." What's that? I go, "Oh, you forgot the 3 rules of arrive and drive." He's go, "What's that?" I go, "Do you have PayPal? How tall are you? And do you have PayPal?" He's all, "Yeah, I forgot the second one." And so so he looks at me and I'm like, "Well, I can help you with this problem." And he's like, "What?" He goes, "I will trade you my 5'8" driver for your 6'7" driver if they want to swap." He's like, "Okay."
Wow.
So Rocket Ship walks over and jumps into topless and fits in there with no problem. And he was like, "All right, that fits better." So basically, I swapped drivers at a race for just so that Bob could have a successful weekend. So
I think that's the subtitle of this episode. Do you have PayPal? How tall are you? And do you have PayPal?
Hey, totally. 100%.
yeah.
So Chris, you've been doing this back since the Altamont days. As evident
July
by
07.
your original, your OG tattoo of the 24 hours of Lemons, like first generation logo. So you had a really later. Good one. Yeah, totally. It's like, hey, check out my new tattoo. And they're like, oh, check out our new logo.
It's all right. Shows your OG. We get it.
All right, wait, hang on. What do that? I have to get this. That's going to be the thumbnail, and I just need to get the screen capture of this one here. Perfect. Yeah. All right, keep going. Awesome.
1 week later, they changed the logo. Thanks for coming.
Yep. True Lemons style right there.
So you had a really good story about ratchet straps back when the series raced at Fernley. Tell us a little bit about that.
So this arriver, one of my drivers who's been driving me with for years, comes in. It's like probably 7 or 8 hours into a 24-hour race at Fernley, where it was snowing and raining and stuff. It was a great race. And so he pulls in and he's all, "Hey, there's something wrong." And I'm like, "What do you mean something's wrong?" And he's like, "Watch this." And he all of a sudden, because I saw him go by on the track, and I'm all, "Where are all those sparks from?" And you're like, sparks all over the place. And little, I think it was my little 90s CRX, the one with the lemon demolition that had the stacks on it. So he comes in and I'm like looking at it and he goes, "Watch this." And he like grabs the shifter and dropped it. And he went, "Boom." It fell through the floor and like hit the ground. I was like, huh. So basically he was driving the car while holding the shifter up as he was going around the track. And then he came in. And so basically we pulled it up and it broke the back transmission mount. And so we grabbed ratchet straps and wrapped them all around that to one of those $39 strut braces from eBay, and strapped the motor up and raced it for another like 16 hours after that. But literally it was like,
it's no problem at all.
Oh yeah,
it's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine.
I stole a shifter out of one of my Arrive and Drive's cars. He was like, we had a Subaru and we broke the shifter, and so I went over to his brand new nice STI and I stole his shifter out of it without telling him. So all of a sudden that he goes to leave that night to go to the hotel and he's like, "Chris, did you take a part from my car?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, sorry about that. Let me go get that." So by then I had another replacement one, but literally I took the guy's shifter out of his car while he was driving one of my other cars on the track. So that was kind of a thieving, rob Peter for Paul experiences.
So the unwritten fourth rule: do you have PayPal? How tall are you? Do you have PayPal? What kind of car do you drive, and do you leave it locked?
Yeah.
Question for you: have you won all of the awards there are to win?
No, I haven't got the only like class win I got was a class C win, and at that race that was when I did the lemon what was it, the ambulance button turbo ambulance. I did the good old I did a cannonball run ambulance, and actually I did it like a week before Brock Yates actually died. So I did a tribute vehicle to a guy that wasn't even dead yet. But so that one I actually
made that happen then. Because you had a tribute vehicle before he was dead.
Yeah, so that race I ended up, that was the first time I rode Class C, and Corey was battling it with us for Class C, and then we were going back, and I think he lost a wheel on his car, and so I kept slowing down and like honking at Corey every time I drove by. And he was about to, I think he was so pissed at me. I stopped with him. Hey,
I'm sure
you need
he
anything?
loved that.
I go, oh, look, you're missing a wheel. And I'm all, I got a wheel right here. And he's like, fuck you, Chris. God damn it. He's all getting mad at me. So then when the race was over, all of a sudden at the award ceremony, they're all, and the Class C win goes to Chris Overzet in the ambulance. And then they figured out that it was my 100th entry was that race. And so they're like, so we figured out that you've spent about $40,000 on winning a trophy finally in a class. And I'm like, well, it felt a lot better until you told me that part. So, but yeah, I got Class C, and then I've got, I think, I've got, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 organizers' choice. I got a judge's choice for the limo that time where it did the wheelie going out of the racetrack. That was one of the judges' choices. And then I got a trophy was a judge's choice for Chris's being a nice guy trophy. So basically what happened was the team from Colorado came out to California, their car broke. And so I gave them one of my cars to use for like 5 hours so they at least got track time. And so all of a sudden there was like, I think 19 of them that showed up for this race. And so during the award ceremony, they had all of them come up to the stage. Hey, everybody from Colorado, come up here. The whole school, so-and-so, they all come up there. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, you guys aren't getting a trophy, but Chris is for being a nice guy because he let you drive his car. And they're like, oh. But yeah, it was that was a funny one that they tricked those poor kids.
Oh, no, you suck again.
yeah. And it was, I think, I got another time when the alien probe car, I think I kind of helped them get their the most screwed or back on track heroic fix. They came in and they had a rod knock going on, and they're like, man, we need some rod bearings. And I'm like, I looked at their big, giant air cleaner that they had with the aluminum, and I'm like, you could probably make bearings out of that. And they're like, really? So I gave them my porta band, and they cut bearings out of the air intake tube, put it on the car, and then went back out on track. And then I think they did they finished the race that day. So I was like, I keep joking with those guys. I mean, they went out for like 5 laps, and they come back. They would go for 5 laps, and then they go back, and then all of a sudden, at the end, they just drove it and ended up finishing. But I was like, I always tease with those guys. I'm all, you guys you owe me a quarter of that trophy because for your heroic fix was my tools, my idea. And they're like, all right, yeah, we'll get it. So I'm waiting for them to cut one of their trophies up for me.
Yeah.
And then
they'll probably use it for spare parts or bearings or something,
Exactly. But no, I don't think. Class A, I'll probably never get that one because I don't know, I'm not that good of a driver, and that's too much commitment and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. I imagine if it comes down to being funny or being, the fastest car, let's go with funny. It took me forever, but I finally scrolled through enough of your Facebook to find the limo. And this is the one I could find in there. Now, there is also a picture of it where you've got, your lovely bride on there, but I don't know if we're going to keep this one PG or not. But yeah, there's a collection of some of your stuff there.
The limo was my first race in Lemons. When you brought that to Sonoma. I looked at that thing and I was like, what the hell is that thing?
Yeah. The limo was funny because it's like I pulled in and it took up the whole top of my car hauler. So basically when I got to the track, I literally did a lap in the paddock, so everybody could see it. I was like, look what I got. And then that night I was looking, I punched in racing limo on Google, and there was 400 posts from all these different forums. We're racing against this guy. And it was hilarious, all that. But it's the limo was funny. I mean, the car I could do, 31 miles per hour on button willow with the cruise control on without running out, basically drive the whole course. Pretty funny. Without touching the brake.
Really funny.
Oh. Then what was it? Oh, there was a girl that was a stunt driver. She was one of the hamsters from the Kia Soul commercials. She drove with me at that race, and she was so I got 30 miles per hour out, and I'm going to get 31. So we were battling at who was going to drive it the fastest with the cruise control on. but the thing got like 17 miles to a gallon, and it would go like, and then so every time I raced that thing, the last hour, I put a brand new set of brake pads in it, and then I just sent it. I was like literally just, I was trying to blow it up. So like every time, so I heard all this radio chatter from everybody. They're like, for some reason the limo is not staying to the right of the track, and he is taking the whole course, and he's doing a 241 on the track, which is pretty good for us.
That's actually yeah. You're hauling the mail at that point.
Yeah, and it was funny. They thought because good old Pete was there with the little killer zombie, and we had the same exact lap times forever, which was like 241s. But they thought maybe that my transponder was on his car, or his car had my transponder, because we had the same exact lap times. But we would catch each other at other parts of the track. But yeah, the limo was probably my funnest car to have, but it only fit on button wheels, so that was the only thing that sucked. But yeah, when I was racing every time I raced it, Eyesore Miata would basically catch me like every 2 laps going through the chicane or the S's. So they would honk, and then I'd let them pass, and then I just sat right in the middle of the S's going hella slow, so then Eyesore could basically win the race. So, yeah, so I was always teasing. That's why I called it the rolling chicane limo service.
That's a great one. That's a great, because Eyesore is good people. Everybody likes Eyesore.
Oh yeah, they've been there since Altamont. They're great. I love those guys.
All right. I am, for those watching on YouTube, I apologize. We have lost Chris and Chrissy, and I'm trying to add just a screen of me, Chris, and Tim, and it's fighting me on this because I'm not very smart. All right. Here's what we're going to do. I can work around that. There we go. Now we got all of us on there. So, all right. We're, a few weeks back, we were talking about trackside triumphs, and I am betraying you a little bit on this one, but it's a really, really funny story. You had to pull an engine out of somebody's back seat.
Yeah. So I had one guy, when one of my Hondas, he forgot to turn on the fan switch, and he ended up blowing up the motor, and he's like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, there's a motor at my house. And he's like, okay. So he was all of like a $125. Him and his buddy were both about a $125. So they both drive like 150 miles to my house. They put the motor in the back seat of his girlfriend's Sentra or Camry or something. She took the back seat out of it so she could sleep in it at Burning Man. So there was like nothing in the back seat. So of course, basically they had this, and then they show up back at the track at like, I don't know, it probably took him like 4 hours. It took him an hour just to get the motor in the car at my house. And I was like, my buddy was like watching him, and he goes, I'm not going to help him. This is too funny to watch. So they get the motor in the car finally, come out to the racetrack, and then they're sitting there for like 10 minutes trying to get this cherry picker to pull the motor out of it. And I'm like, you guys are like the dumbest smart guys, because they're like both engineers for somewhere. And I'm, oh God. So I reached inside the car, grabbed the motor, and like wiggled it out, picked it up, and set it on the ground. I go, okay, now you got to put it in the car. And they just looked at me like, okay. But yeah, that was one of the many crazy engine swaps.
Yes. Back when, people would actually just spend all night swapping an engine just because.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you though? I mean, like that is like the essence of Lemons. Like, just if you're not greasy or sweaty or completely destroyed at the end of the weekend, you did it wrong.
True.
I was like, before I knew like Blizzard and that whole group of people, we were walking around the paddock one time, and all the guys like Blizzard and all their cars were all broken down, and I think my kids were like 6 and 7 years old at the time, and we're walking by, and then the kids are looking at the cars, and all, hey, why are these guys working on their cars? And then my son looks at my daughter and goes, because their cars aren't as good as Dad's, and their cars suck. So there's like Ryan, Blizzard, and like all the whole group of them like look at me, and they're like, oh, and like all defeated and stuff. And I'm like, well, they're not wrong. And they're like, whatever. But yeah, that's basically how
it would have been. If it had come from you, they could have like deflected it because it came from a kid. They're like, kids don't lie. Damn it. All right.
And then I was teaching
Yep.
I was
Keep talking.
teaching my kids to yell at everybody, don't slam gears. The Honda's not a drag car. So every time one of my drivers would come in, my kids would barcade the car and go, don't shift hard. It's not a drag car. It's a Honda. And so, but all the arriving drives were getting like taunted by my youngins yelling at them.
Fantastic.
So hey, Chrissy, I know you and Chris had a thing there, but we go down to the questions at the bottom.
I'm very sorry.
You
I
judged a whole
said-
bunch, Chris, in time. I think we've all done it at this point, and there's always something that we want to see. What do you want someone to bring that you haven't seen yet?
I'm trying to. It's like a hard one. It's like, I mean, I still want to try to figure out a way to do a rental car. Like, I want to get a convertible, cage it, and then like race it that whole weekend, and then take the cage out and take it back on Tuesday. And it's like I said that on my like Lemons story one time, and like I got like, I think I got like 7 or 8 people who were like, I'm game if you want to do it. But then I'm like, it'd be like one of those things you could be famous for doing it, but then you couldn't tell anybody you did it. So if somebody showed up with a rental car and actually did my little dream, that'd be kind of funny if they actually made it happen. So
I feel like you would have to bring a black and gold wrap and do the Shelby Hertz rental theme.
It'd definitely be like a convertible Mustang, but then it's like, then you're wondering, oh, hope this insurance that I get covers it all if this car gets destroyed. So,
or you just park it in a bad neighborhood
destroyed.
and like take it to a neighborhood where you've bought a Lemons car and leave it there, and maybe it goes away.
you could just like leave it in anywhere in Oakland, and they could just use it for a takeover and just burn it up at the end of the night. So.
Sounds like you have the answer here. So why is nobody following this lead?
I know. I need to get a hold of those people again. So.
He hasn't spent any time thinking about this, obviously.
Right? That's a pretty good plan.
Yeah, it's like, well, because my buddy's actually on the blacklist. They can never get a rent-a-car ever because we like destroyed so many of them. Because we used to do it's called Jeep Speed. Basically, it was an off-road racing series, and you had a Jeep Cherokee XJ. So every time we would do this race, we did like Vegas to Reno. So when we were in Vegas, we would rent a Jeep XJ, and we put it on the trailer, and we use it as a parts vehicle the whole way up from Vegas all the way to Reno. So by the time we got to like Reno, it's like we had all these parts that were basically broken on the rent-a-car, and then so we basically would take it. We'd try to put what we could back on the car, and then return it to Hertz or whatever place we had it. And then my buddy finally got busted for it. So that was all bad.
Weird.
Yeah,
that
also used. Yeah, and then where we would do pre-runs, and we'd rent like a Suburban, and we'd just go mobbing through these whoopie-doos and stuff. And by the time we were done, you couldn't open the doors of the car. And I think he returned a Suburban like that one time, so that was pretty bad also. So,
it's banana shaped now. It's great.
yeah, why are the windows broken?
All right. While you're judging, what do you not want to see any more of?
Stupid Beamers.
Yes! Yes!
Dude, boring Beamers.
There you go.
So annoying. Yeah.
Okay. Unsolicited endorsement. He was not given that answer to anybody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you see that? I think Tim was judging with me. There was that black one that had the sombrero on top of it. It was like a bunch of biker guys. I went up to them and I was talking all sorts of shit to them. Then they all stood up and I was like, holy shit. They were like 6'7", 6'9", and they were all like straight up Harley dudes. And I was like, oh yeah, your car's great, dude. Have a good weekend. And
We actually, I remember that Tim and I were judging, and we gave them a good, because it was a boring car, and it felt like a weak theme. But all of a sudden, when they came into penalty, they all had the tuxes, the dress. They did the dance. They were like,
they did everything.
Yes,
yeah, those guys were great.
They owned it. They owned it. It was. I was like, yes.
That's what I love was when like those people do that. Like when they come in and change it up and actually do something different. then it's great. But it's like some of the people just show up, and I mean, I understand they're just trying to get like all the Miatas from the Flying Miata team out here that basically use Lemons as their training program for doing the 25 hours of Thunder Hill.
He actually sold all of those to a group of college kids, and they call it college fund racing, and they're getting better. The drivers of those cars they're good kids. But so
well,
you judged.
Last time we told them, didn't we tell them last time they had to go spend $100 at the dollar store to outfit their car so they could race the next day?
I want to say they did. They showed up with a bunch of glitter and ribbons or something. Like they actually,
each car was a different. They had 3 cars. Each car they themed differently, poorly.
Yeah.
But there was an effort involved, which was like, okay, good on you. We're like, you're not racing unless you come up with something. And they did like one Americana.
It was like they were bargaining their penalty laps because they wanted to be in the same class as their dads. The dads were in one car. And they were in the other car, and I'm like, so they were trying to like so they could be in the same one, and so they could race against their parents, I guess, or something. It was kind of funny, but yeah, they're finally getting it, but they're pretty useless sometimes.
And so, what's your best judging story?
So the best one, I think, I had that video up for days. This little Miata comes into the penalty box, and I videotape him as he's coming down at Sonoma. I hear this clang, 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 clang noise, and he pulls into the penalty box, and he's got a bumper stuck in his passenger door that's out straight 90 degrees, like 4 feet out the side of the car. He goes, "What did you guys pull me in for?" And I'm like, I'm all, "Hey, get out of the car." So he gets out of the car and make him walk around to the other side, and he's like, "Holy shit, where'd that come from?" I go, you were on the track. I wasn't. I don't know where it came from. And he's like, oh. And so basically we wrestled it, pulled the bumper out, and then he went back out on track. And then the guy whose bumper it was, he didn't even come looking for it till like the end of the day. It was out of an RX-7 or something. It was Owen something. I forgot his name. But he showed up at like 5 o'clock going, do you guys have a bumper here? I'm like, yeah, it's up there. So, but yeah, that was a good one.
By the way, we know you made contact. Why didn't you come see us? I didn't hit anybody.
I love like my favorite. Like I always have people do the idle challenge. Well, the guys that are speeding in the paddock, I'll say, okay, now get your right foot. You're going to tuck that against the seat, and I'll make them idle out of the clutch in first gear, and I'll make them idle all the way out around the paddock, and then go back out on the track without touching the gas pedal. So that one always gets people paranoid. They're like,
writing that one down because that's one of my. I get really upset about speeding in the paddock. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. That is great.
Yeah.
That is.
I'm all used again.
Yeah.
Those of you who rode America, get ready for that. Just saying.
Oh man. Well, luckily it's a small paddock.
Yeah.
4 miles from tip to tail.
You do it at Thunder Hill, and it's like. It'll take them 15 minutes to go around the paddock before they can go out. So.
It's supposed to. That's why it's a speed limit. Yeah. Buttonwillow. It's a huge paddock. Slow down. Don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't care. Don't care. So, Chris, you do you do socials? Where can folks find you with your like adventures and misadventures?
My kids actually started a Instagram page for Buttercup, so that's Buttercup The Racehorse on Instagram. So I've been doing that one a little bit, and we go for all the car shows and cars and coffee and stuff like that, and then just go to old normal Facebook for everything else. And then my business is Extreme Motorsports at Yahoo at .biz, I think. Yeah, extrememotorsports.biz is our shop, and then we have an Instagram page with that with all our different builds we have and all that other stuff. So.
Is Buttercup your favorite car?
Yeah, it's like my wife calls it my mistress because my wife hates the car. She just absolutely hates it. And so, like, my manager at the shop hates the car. He's all, you can't leave that down at the shop anymore. And I'm like, all right, fine. So, like, but yeah, so it's like, and it's just, it's funny because it's like my daughter and I love taking the car out. We go all over the place. She just got her permit, so she's my duber. She basically drives me around everywhere. So she's driven Buttercup the other day, and it's 11 feet from her nose to the end of the bumper in the front of the car, and
Oh,
she's
that
like
is
on a
awesome.
booster seat. Yeah, so she's driving around, and like we went to Good Guys this weekend, and she's all game for letting people climb up on the roof and take pictures and stuff like that. So she has fun with it also. But yeah, that car is probably I mean, having a street legal Lemons car is like the best thing ever. You can just take it wherever you
Agreed.
want and mess with people.
Agreed.
But it's like well, I was also the caretaker for the upside down Camaro for like the last 2 years. So it's like I would take the upside down Camaro, or I would take Buttercup to like all the local cars and coffees and stuff like that. Just if you stay local, it's like you see the same cars all the time. It gets kind of boring. So this Sunday, I might drive over to Sierra College and take Buttercup up there to their little cars and coffee they have.
Oh, you know they
yes.
will love that.
Yeah, it's
Love
about
that.
60 miles away, so it hasn't broke down lately, so
Don't
it's
say
never
things
broke.
like that.
Yeah. But no, it's the Buttercup's funny because it's like my son's an Eagle Scout, and one of his best buddies just got Eagle, and all of a sudden his friend calls up, he's all, "Hey, can your dad bring Buttercup so we can take pictures on him?" And I'm like, "Sure." So then the wife had to climb into the passenger seat and go to this meeting, and I got I got 13 Boy Scouts on top of that car for that picture. It's pretty funny.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. What's next? What are you doing next? Next race? Next judging? What's going on?
Next judge, I'm at Buttonwillow next month, and then I'm hoping November I'm bringing Buttercup out for. We're gonna do we're gonna dress up as knights, and I think I'm hoping to get one of my little Hondas going, and I'm gonna dress that like a dragon and have the Buttercup with the knights chasing the dragon. So
That's
see if
fantastic.
that works out.
Are we gonna see?
Awesome.
Are we gonna see your daughter in a race car?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. It'd probably be like March or something. It's like I don't understand like Burnell's dads where their kids got their license the day before a Lemons race and they threw them on a racetrack. I thought that was the craziest thing ever. It's like I couldn't imagine throwing my kids out to the wolves like that when they just got their license. So she'll go out there. My son's not into racing, but my daughter says she'll be into it. So
There's wolves out on that racetrack, but a lot of those wolves, you make a loud noise, they run and they hide. There's a couple of angry chihuahuas, and then a couple of giant dogs that just don't care, so they're just lumping around and looking for a place to take a nap.
I like taking the gas caps off of the cars and during the yellow laps, and then I throw the gas cap at the driver. That's always a fun one. That or just their I used to do that in road race or like on stop and go traffic. Take people's gas caps off and throw it at them.
Things you can only get away with when you're over 6 foot. I'm not getting away with that. I'm getting beat up.
Yeah. Or you open up their
try
back
this at home,
passenger door.
folks.
Yeah, you open up their back passenger door. That's a good one also.
Wow.
Okay, don't do that. Not you. You do whatever you want. If you're listening,
Yeah.
don't do that. Oh,
I think that should be our safety tip, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty sure this
Yeah.
is not a thing that most people should practice. or
there you
promote.
go. Just the tip. Don't take people's gas caps in traffic while you're moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh, all right. Anything else around the horn? Chris, thank you. This has been great. I've been there for some of this stuff, being a bit of a transplant, but I did not know how far back and how deep this goes, because that is some truly epic stuff.
Well, it's like I was the one that started the whole People's Curse with the excavator and stuff. So like that was my very first Lemons race was at Altamont, and it's about a half a mile track. And so so I talked to Jay, and I'm like, "Can I bring I'll do the People's Curse." And he's like, "All right, what are you gonna bring?" And I got a Bobcat with a concrete breaker. And so we're on the track, and then so Saturday going right. So Sunday morning, Saturday we're driving, and this guy in this Crown Vic hit my little Honda 4 times in one lap, destroyed the whole little car. It wasn't done. It was done for the race. So then when I showed up on Sunday morning with the Bobcat and the concrete breaker, I went over to their paddock and I caved their trunk in with the concrete breaker. And then as I'm doing this, Jay sticks his head inside the Bobcat and says, "Mr. Overzet, will you please go sit in your corner and not play with these people right now?" And I'm like, "Yes, Jay." So I raise the height, and then I, as they says that, I hit the concrete breaker like 2 more times, and he like looks at me, and I'm all, "Sorry." And then I picked it up, and then I drove over to my paddock, and then lo and behold, those guys got the People's Curse on their Camaro, and I think I broke their carburetor with the concrete breaker.
I was at that race because they cut the roof off and kept racing, and they were still being tools.
Yeah, but yeah, it was a Camaro. I think that was the second one. That was when we with the excavator when we ripped the roof off of it.
Yeah, Chris was this close to joining me for that race. He's forever grateful that he didn't because it was awful.
So happy. That would have been terrible.
And the race was actually great, but the guy that I was partnered with, it just went bad. But yes. Oh, that's hilarious. Yes, I remember that Camaro because then they just cut the roof off and kept going. There was a hearse. Somebody out there had a hearse.
I was trying to find that hearse for years. I was like, I wanted to bring that thing back.
Yes. So. I remember he was pulling in every about 10 to 20 minutes and just changing tires because he was running all seasons and he was melting them. Yeah. That was awesome.
That was great. Altamont was crazy times.
All right. So we go from talking about the past to talking about the future. What are we doing next week?
No idea.
Sorry,
Chrissy.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. My microphone, I was trying to figure out where it was off.
It's totally fine.
No. Okay, we promised a Road America preview, and we're going to deliver that. We're going to figure out how to record it so it is ready for you to listen while you're towing if you're going there.
Yes. And we've been wanting Chris on this show for a while, and we just have not been able to get our schedules made up. So when he said he had time, we jumped on it. So no regrets.
I hope it was worth it.
Yes, I think it was worth it. I think everyone else agrees. That was a ton of fun. Thank you so much. And if nobody's got anything else, we'll hit the old outro here.
I just want to say this: if you are at a West Coast event, go and see Chris Overzet, whether he's running some crappy car or he's judging. Hell of a lot of fun to hang out with. Great guy. Super friendly. Go and have a chat with him. You won't regret it.
And because at Buttonwellow, it's going to be us, me, you, and Jem are judging that one. We have a great judges theme, but we're going to keep it under wraps until everyone comes to see it. We've just got to order those costumes on Amazon. So if you have to come chat with him in penalty, well, boo on you. But if you have the chance to talk to him not in penalty, definitely worthwhile. So
I got a new pit ride for that race too. So.
Ha! There we go.
So.
I'll race it with my skateboard. We won't. We totally won't do that, Jay. Don't pretend we said that.
Well, I've ordered.
Thanks for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you will join us in the world of driving, racing, building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. And go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hated us, give us 5 stars and tell us why. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop us a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text pictures of your junk to me at 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram at everyone.racers, YouTube and Facebook under Everyone Racers, and even Reddit at /E1R. Thanks again. Until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless, like us, there is no shiny side, then just keep those wheels down.